I was like, sure. And he's like,
good evening, everyone, and welcome to Camppatton Family Compound. And we've got Rebel Canners supporting us tonight, and it's time for the Monday night Fireside chat. I got all sorts of technical glitches going on here tonight. Tonight's topic is canning science, and I'm going to bring myself up here, and we got Mark here, and we got Tammy here. Oh, there. Tammy, you're muted on your side.
I wasn't talking yet anyway.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
God.
Yeah, all righty here. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I was trying to go from as soon as the countdown hit 0, I usually hit the other button and hitting. Nothing's happened. I had to hit the countdown again. Then I went back and while the countdown started over again, I hit it about 20 times before it engaged the other one.
You need like direct commands now.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I forgot I was on mute.
So, yeah. And let's see. Let's go. Well, first of all, before I welcome everybody in, everything, how did last week go?
Oh, it was so much fun. So much fun. A lot of cooking over an open fire. There was 25 of us. So a lot of open fire videos coming up, or campfire videos.
I've been watching a bunch of your shorts on it, some of the other ones and stuff, and it's like, wait a minute, she's still there. She must be sneaking off and
yeah, I was
uploading that.
When I go up to the front to the walk-in freezer and the stuff, there was internet up there, so I'd post something. Or when I went to the lake, we had Wi-Fi, I'd post. So yeah,
cool.
All
right.
Here's a fun thing. So you saw my camp kitchen video. The health inspector came and inspected my camp kitchen and told me I had a very clean kitchen. Not too bad for an outdoor chef.
Yeah. Just on this is going to be coming up on Gray Man Prepping for the Midnight Ride. I usually show the news articles coming out of California and other places. California Department of Health is now authorizing each county to authorize home restaurants. Takeout only.
Interesting.
But they are limited to so many meals a day or so many meals a week total.
That's going to fall into the mobile catering category with the health department.
Yep.
And so
that's really nice, though, in a place where there's a lot of restaurants have went out of business.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the reasons why they approved it, is to try to maybe get some of these, home restaurants going, and then get them to go into maybe opening up actually a storefront on it.
Yeah,
that's right. Gruesome will stick his finger in that pot and be like, well, you're cooking from home. That means we have to tax you more, and you need to claim that. Yeah, it's going to be
they might not want to do that, though, because now these businesses can write off all their overhead, like their electricity. They've tripled the price of between 2 and 7 p.m.
Yeah. All righty. Let's see who is all here. All right. So Suzanne Galay was the first one in, but she says she has to catch the replay because has a scheduling conflict. Walt Rogers came in, then Sumi came in as third, Mark came in as fourth, Ryan the Gamer, Phelan Clan Wolf, Mother Earth Garden Club. Everybody's talking back and forth. CR is in the house.
That's because we're talking about food.
Yeah.
We plan to make you hungry, CR.
Yeah. And I did. I asked him, CR, have you eaten? And his response was just hydrated. Canadians here. Hey, Angel's Homestead is in on your side.
Hi.
And Cold War Preppers here. Hey, Lee. Diana 2 is here. Little Lone Prepper. And Sue Me just checked in on your side too. So she's double dipping on different tabs here. And everybody's talking back
Thank
and
you.
forth. Utah Mike is in the house. Kaylin Strain is here. All right, and we're caught up here. And CR says I came for the science. And of course, we got a mad scientist right over here. Not a rebel, a mad scientist.
It's canning.
All righty. So let me throw up this here. If I go in to jump into it here. And okay, so ways to can. These are the, how do I put it? The approved and rebel ways of canning.
Yeah. Currently approved and previously approved.
And previously approved. But and you know, the ones that are the one that is disapproved is only disapproved by the left wing nuts.
Oh, everything's disapproved by them, but you know.
Yeah. All right. So water bath, pressure canning, steam canning, and open kettle. Now, open kettle was listed on several sites as, this was one of the oldest ways of canning, but it absolutely is not allowed anymore. And it's like, and I looked at, and that's coming from certain left-wing universities for their extension programs, you know, trying to, and see, Diana too jumped over and came in on your side too. So she's double dipping too. So, yeah, we're going to talk about, you know, the science behind each one of these and who, what, when, where, why, and what works good, what works better in one, what works better in the other, and what can you do, what is being used by certain groups to do can everything. All right, so do we want to just give a quick overbrief of these, or do you want me to do it, or how do you want to do that?
I can if you want.
Okay.
Put your list back up there so I don't forget one. So water bath is when you boil underneath 1 inch of water your canned goods to process it. It is mostly used for low acid foods.
High acid foods.
There are some low acid foods that if you pickle them, you can then also water bath them. But mostly used for high acid foods. Usually we're talking fruit here. Okay. That majority of which is fruit. Okay. Pressure canning, you can do anything. Low acid or high acid. It's specifically for low acid foods. Steam canning is exactly the same as water bathing. It's the same times. It is for the same products, but you use steam instead of having them submerged in water, so it takes a lot less water. It's great in an area where you're on water rationing or don't have a good supply of clean, fresh water.
Right.
Those three things there will keep 18 months or longer, depending upon, you know, who you talk to. Then you have open kettle. Open kettle is only for, again, high acid foods. It is approved for tomato juice if you have lemon juice in it, and applesauce. Those are the only two products I know right now it is approved for anymore. It does not have the shelf life of the other three. Its shelf life is basically 6 months. Now, I know a lot of people open kettle pickles because they prefer to have them crisper. And when you do that, again, the shelf life may not be as long. And you want to make sure that you have a lot of acid in there, like a high acid vinegar product. Trying to think what else people open kettle. Some people still open kettle jams and jellies. And that's, open kettle is where you have a hot jar that's just come out of the boiling water and you put a boiling hot product into it. I'd use this for applesauce. So hot boiling applesauce going directly into a jar that just came out of hot boiling water.
So I'm going to make you think on this one. My mom and my grandma and many before them on my side, I guess, and I have to guess on this one, were open kettling open jellies, but they poured wax on it. And I remember that because I always went down in the basement, would push down on the wax and lick the jelly. And that was open. Was that open kettle? Like they would make it hot, pour it in a jar, and then pour the hot wax on it?
Yes. But the thing with that is, and I have actually seen jelly that has been more than 25 years old, consumed by someone who is not me. And they live to tell about it. The thing with that, and you have to do this, is the wax tends to shrink over time away from the edge of the jar. And if you don't go down there and watch it, especially in that first 6 months, if you're not watching it and adding more paraffin right away when it starts to pull off the edges, you're getting it exposed to air. There's the potential for getting mold. And if you see mold on the top of your jelly, you have mold all through that product.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Aidenir just showed up. Tammy Harder just showed up. And Kaylin Strain asked the question here. Where'd it go? There it is.
Pickled beets.
Pickled beets.
Yes. You can water bath pickled beets. It's because it's pickled in a vinegar solution. So you can take a low acid product, add the appropriate amount of vinegar, and water bath it.
So without me Googling it or DuckDuckGoing it or whatever, have you ever canned pickled pig's feet?
My mother has, and I've canned it with
so
my
did
mother.
Mine. And I can't find her recipe anywhere.
I have it. I have mine. I can get you mine.
Okay.
It's
I'd like to see. I forget what's in it.
Send you a book. I'm pretty sure I'll figure out which one of my books it's in, and I'll just send you my book. But yeah, pickled pig's feet. It's not. And the other thing that really grosses me out when you buy it from the store, it isn't sealed.
No, I know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Ours were. We had it for dinner every now and then when we didn't have anything else, and it was a great thing. It was like, we're having pig's feet tonight. So we're like, cool. Now I grew up in New Jersey, which was not a deep South area. So when I started hanging out with deep South people, and they're like, trying to mess with my head, going, yeah, we're having pickled pig's feet. I was just like, okay, can I have one?
I love pickled pig's feet.
You eat that? I'm like, yeah, I kind of grew up on it.
I remember when I got old enough to buy my own, have my own spending money, I used to buy that for my own snacks. I absolutely loved it. And my mom and dad would buy it, or my mom would make it. If we had butchered a pig, my mom would make it. If otherwise, we bought it. And I remember I had to share it with my mom unless I bought it myself.
Now, was it?
So I would buy it so I didn't have to share it.
Did mom and grandma have to water bath it or pressure can it? Did they water bath that? Because it's pickled, but meat. See, that's why the procedure eludes me.
I'm pretty sure my mom still pressure canned it, but it's not. It's like a soup time, not like a meat time.
Right, but it had vinegar in it. I know that.
It had. It's almost all vinegar.
Yeah. Anything to preserve food back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, I do have one other slide here to show. I want to put a disclaimer on it. I actually was able to blow this up. This was printed in 1918.
Yes.
Things changed in 1930.
Yes. Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. All right.
It was only used for a 20-year period. 1910 when stoves first came out to 1930 when they were like, yeah, this isn't working. Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we got, this from Kerr jars, talk about mason jars, wide mouth mason jars, all the fun, cool stuff on it. So this is one of the flyers on it. So down here, over here on the right, I'm going to blow this up here a different way here and go. So no rubber rings, no wrenches, for all methods of home canning, pressure cooker, not even say pressure canner, they call it a pressure cooker at the time still. Water bath, oven, and open kettle. Oven has gone away because there was no, the oven technology at the time was very haphazard, would you say?
Yeah, it still is.
Yeah.
Your ovens do not consistently heat.
Yeah. And
if you put a thermometer in a new oven, you're still going to have hot spots and cold spots if you move it around in there. They're not, unless you have a convection oven that's blowing the air in there. It's not a very consistent.
Even convection ovens.
Yeah.
Convection ovens, same thing. I've been dealing with them for a very long time.
And
there's hot and cold spots. You got to rotate, do things for your food so it doesn't burn on one side.
When you put a cake in and it doesn't really rise on both sides, you got heat issues or other issues, but that's a good indicator of a hot spot. So that they promoted that when ovens first came out. And then by the 1930s, they were saying, don't do this anymore. So
I think one of the problems was,
hang on.
I think one of the problems is that, because, all right, so the electric ovens were a new thing. Gas ovens were a really new thing.
But I'm not sure they had electric ovens in the 1930s.
Up in New York and stuff, I think they did, because Edison's Electric and all that stuff. I think they had it back then. But most of America was still doing wood stoves.
Yes.
I think that's where the problem was. Yeah. So the only thing I can think of for quote oven canning, it's not really canning, I would ever do, is if I had a electric oven or a wood stove oven that had a dry heat, and I wanted to seal up my rice or my wheat berries.
But that's vacuum sealing. That's not canning. And I really hate it when people call that oven canning. What you're really doing is vacuum sealing dry goods.
Yeah, you're heating it up to kill the bugs.
Right.
All you're doing is heating it up to kill the bugs and drive the moisture, and then sealing it up.
Yeah.
You seal it up. What's the science? But Tammy, so what is the science behind when I throw a jar of rice in the oven, I take it out, I throw a lid and a ring on there? What is that science? I could do it, but I'm going to make you do it.
It's basically thermal vacuum.
So hot air expands, and when you put the lid on, it cools down, it shrinks, and makes the lid go ping.
Yeah. Okay, here's an important thing. I'm just going to say it now and get it out of the way. Okay, the seal is not the important part in canning. I mean, it is important, but the end goal is not the seal. When you're canning food, the end goal is to kill the preponderance. You're never going to kill every single bacteria in there. I'm sorry, I hate to burst the bubbles of some people that think you are, but you're killing the majority of the bacteria so that your food doesn't grow bacteria while it's sitting there waiting for you to consume it.
Yeah. The
seal just helps you with that.
All right. Who came? All right. So we had Brydazzle come in, and KS Fun World and Slime came in, and Sandra Volmar came in on your side, Tammy.
Hello.
And okay. So those are the new ones that came in.
And CR is eating.
CR is eating.
That's way up there.
We only mentioned rice, and already CR is eating.
Yeah. Well, no, you mentioned pig's feet before that.
Oh, but I don't know that would be appetizing, even for CR.
Hey, Dr. Paula's here.
Taste.
What's up, Doc?
Dr. Paula.
Dr. Paula. Woohoo! Yeah. So,
I got to say, a few of us in the past, I do a lot of like bone broth and that, and I'll have a jar, an extra jar, won't fit in the canner, and it's already midnight and it's coming. I'm like, I am not going to make one jar. So it was boiling water, boiling broth. When I put it in the jar, I put the lid, I put the ring on it, throw it in the fridge because I know it'll be there. And then it invariably got pushed to the back of the fridge. And this has happened to me a couple times. Like 4 months later, I dig down there, I'm looking for something. And I'm like, what is this? I pulled it. I was like, oh my God, it's bone broth. I never canned it. It's still sealed. The ring is still tight, even though I put a ring on it, because it was in the fridge. Still sealed. I'm like, okay, it's been 4 months since this. I'll pop it open. It pops nice. I smell it. It smells like my bone broth. Of course, I'm still not going to eat it, but I will definitely let the dog smell it and take a lick. If he likes it, it's thrown in his food. But that's happened a few times with some things, a couple jars of jelly and stuff where I heat it up, put it in a jar, didn't get canned, threw it in the fridge, and it's still sealed up. And that I have to say, I probably got randomly lucky because I killed all the bacteria. There was nothing in the jars. I don't remember if I pre-boiled the jars or not. I probably did. I do on everything. And I got lucky with basically that's a open kettle style. And I put it in the fridge. I didn't put it on the shelf, but I put it in the fridge and it was good for like 2, 3, 4 months, but I still wouldn't trust it putting it on my shelf.
Now, jam and jelly, I would not hesitate at, a month to pull out of the fridge and eat that. If it's been
right, but the bone broth, 4 months old, I did that. I'm like,
4-month-old bone broth, I'm not eating that.
Yeah, it was still sealed, and I know it was boiling when I put it in the jar, and I only left a 1/4 inch of headspace on it or half it, but I gave it to the dog anyway, and he's still alive.
Yeah, but he has how do I put this?
Yeah.
He has more of a cast iron stomach than we do.
Yeah. Well, they have a very, very high acid, like their pH is like 2.5. That's why they can eat like bones and they dissolve. But anyway, I just had to throw that out there.
Yeah. When they were wolves, they ate dead animals.
Yeah.
That's just,
Hey, now my dog still eats, but I'm not going there. Anyway.
Yeah. And same thing with cats, too. They eat dead animals and stuff.
Yeah. So
we eat dead animals, but they were alive at some point before we got to them.
a lot closer point than some scavengers.
All right. But. So on the open kettle, you were saying high acid stuff, so like applesauce, tomato juice, tomato sauce. Well, they say add a little lemon to it or whatever. Pickled items like where you where it's got the vinegar. It's got the vinegar solution, so it's like I would say ketchup, because ketchup you just leave it on the counter. You don't put it in the fridge. Mustard, you leave it on the counter. You don't.
Anyway, a lot of mustard you think is quote canned is actually just fermented.
Yeah.
It's lactose.
So those type things, should be took in my mind. Going overboard on being a rebel. To me, it's like, okay, those things, really high acid and stuff. Boom, you can open kettle do those.
Right.
Now,
there are things you should be going through within a year or so anyway.
Yeah, I still wouldn't open kettle. I'll still water bath it.
Yeah.
Just because I'm not an open kettle fan, and I'd rather be a little more assured of my longevity of the product on my shelf for 6 years. 6 years. Well, 6 years on some, but 6 months to 2 years. Than going, it might be good, and you go down in 6 months and grab something, and it's already popped and molded and growing.
All right, Tuber Chat just came in on your side, Tammy.
Hi, Kevin.
And we got a question here from Mother Earth. How long do you need to pressure can chicken broth?
All you, Tammy.
And my books aren't sitting here, and it's been a while. I'm going to tell you the soup time, which is 60 minutes for quarts, and I do not know the pint time off the top of my head.
at your elevation pressure. If you're at sea level, it's 15 pounds. After that, you're on your own figuring out what your elevation pressures are.
Standard across the United States is 10 pounds. If you're lower than 10,000 feet, you could use less. If you're
10 pounds. I'm sorry, 10 pounds. Yeah.
Yes. If you're in the mountains, you check your altitude, you may have to use 15 pounds of pressure. I don't know your altitude, so I can't tell you the poundage, but that varies by altitude.
Paula, the reason is you have the new modern cheap glasses.
Yeah, they're no longer tempered glass. So if you're buying new jars and trying to either freeze them or use them in some form in an oven, they will have issues.
Yeah.
They'll blow out.
You have to find at a estate sale, garage sale, the old fashioned boxes that have dividers and the lids fold down, seal up totally, and it'll say on it for canning and freezing. Those are the only ones you can put in a freezer.
They're the ones that also have no shoulder. When you're freezing jars, you want the no shoulder jars.
Yeah.
And short of that, doctor, get yourself a pressure canner.
Yeah. CR can't handle the pressure. Okay, CR is making jokes.
Here we go.
Yeah. All right, so we covered that. We covered open kettle.
There's another question. I'm cheating. I have 2 windows open today. I can actually see the chat.
Is this so
you can can coffee concentrate, or you can coffee. I do can some coffee in the winter, especially if I make a big pot and I have some left over. It's just a 20-minute water bath for pints. And then I like to put it in the refrigerator and use it for my iced coffee. Mm-hmm. But you can both coffee concentrate and coffee.
Or buy freeze-dried.
So it gets a little bitter.
Or have freeze-dried coffee like I do.
Oh, there you go.
Now, all right, I'm going off the rails here to answer some points here. Okay, there are some new products out there for freezing that are the silicone rubber things that you can put into the oven, or you can put it into the freezer. I like the ones that are really tapered, so as the liquid expands, you can still pop it out. The other thing is, my wife got me, and she got herself a set of the Pyrex snappables, where the sides are angled.
Yes.
So as it freezes, if it needs to, it lifts out instead of breaking, and they're really thick. They are really thick on it.
Yeah, we got rid of most of our plastic stuff with the lids, and we're pretty much all glass Pyrex with it's a plastic lid. It's BPA free, whatever they want to call it. But we pretty much went to that now. My wife is all freaking out on it, which I've been freaking out for a long time.
Yeah.
The other thing you can do if you're using it like for recipes, get those big silicone ice cubes that are like a 1 cup ice cube. Make it in the ice cubes, and then put them in a Ziploc bag, and after they're frozen, put them into a Ziploc bag. Then you can pull out just 1 cup of broth at a time.
Yeah, those which I have. I think I got 4 of those of the 1 cups and trays, and they have two cup things in, so I get on it, and then I have 2 of the trays that have 4 half cups in it as well. The see, I'm going to check in the side chat here. All right. The next thing after, since we kind of covered open kettle good, is water bath / steam canning.
You can pretty much put them in the same category.
That's why I did it like that. And of course, for those that haven't seen it yet or missed Tammy's video she put out on it, she has a copper steamer.
I have a Conservo steam canner now. It is from 1910, and it is my precious. And I will be doing some videos. Last week, I picked a gallon of black raspberries with some friends and made black raspberry jam with the kids. And I have about 4 pints of the 6 pints we made left to can. And so that video should come out this week when I get a few minutes to get that done.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to throw a rebel wrench out there in support of water bath by naming the Amish and Mennonites and my grandmother and great grandmother
and everybody in
Europe everything.
Yep.
Yes, along with everybody in Europe and Australia and other
Asia and everything else. Yeah, and everywhere else.
Pretty
The
much
United States are
except
the only
United
ones with
States
pressure
and
canners.
Yeah.
Canada has a few.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's only
really
because they sneak them across the border.
Yep.
I didn't say that. But
I didn't say that either.
But the thing is to remember, you cannot use pressure canner times for water bathing meat and vegetables.
No.
And that's the problem people get into.
Yes. And then there's one more step. If you're water bathing meat or low acid vegetables, you don't taste them before you cook them. And again, if you're at 10 pounds of pressure altitude, you cook that for 5 minutes. If you're at a higher altitude, that time is longer. It's more like 10 minutes. I guess if you're on Mount Kilimanjaro, it'd be even longer. But depending on your altitude, the time is whatever. So a lot of people think that they're just going to open that jar and start eating it, and that's where they get into trouble too. You have to know that there is an extra step. You cook it after you open it before you taste it.
Yeah,
end of conversation on that one.
Yeah, even though you quote killed the bacteria by canning it, and it's cooked, it's not real. You need to give it, because some bacteria is still in there, so you need to cook it to kill whatever bacteria survived the canning process.
Disclaimer: everything you buy at the store that's been canned, you're supposed to do that too.
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah. So it's not just home canning; it's store.
Yes, and it used to say that on all the jars, on all the packages, and a lot of the, I don't know, the ones that are like sealed in plastic.
Yeah.
That you microwave or whatever now, they all say that too. Yes. And I'm not.
You mean I should be dead after eating like hundreds of cans of Chef Boyardee ravioli right out of the can cold on camping trips? Yeah, well, Boy Scouts, gotta love it, Gil.
Yeah, no.
My 15-year-old son does that too, and you know, I get it. I know people do it. I know every day you do just fine. I'm just saying what you're supposed to do. You can be a rebel and do whatever you want to do. I'm just telling you the rules.
Yeah, it's like with same thing. All right, with canned chicken, canned beef, and tuna. I know what canned beef, canned chicken, and tuna. I open those cans up. I drain it, plop it in a bowl, throw in my mayonnaise, my relish, maybe a little small squirt of mustard, mix it up, throw it, slap it on my sandwich, on my bread to make a sandwich. I've done that my entire life.
We all do that. Nobody cooks their can of tuna fish when it comes out of the can unless you're making tuna noodle casserole or something like that. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Don't forget
the
peas
thing
and
is,
cheese.
going back to the water bath canning of meats and vegetable stuff, you got to remember, you got to keep that 1 inch of water over the jars, which means you need to have a separate kettle on the side or another pot that is boiling water just at a simmer, just where the bubbles are coming up lightly, not a rolling boil, to add to the other one as it steams off the water.
Now, just to be scientifically clear, as the mad scientist picture is talking here, it's a minimum of 1 inch of water. I've water bath stuff with like 4 inches of water over it. As long as you have at least an inch of water, that way that ensures that 212 or 11, whatever your elevation is, that temperature is 100% surrounding your food in the jar, surrounding the jar. It's like everybody's like, oh, 1 inch. Okay, I put 1 inch in there. I have to keep adding little dribbles and dribbles. Like, just throw 2 inches in there and call it a day. It depends on what you're doing. I mean, my jellies probably have 2-3 inches on top of them, so I don't have to worry about it. I do 6 runs in a row or 8 runs in a row with jelly. I don't have to add any water to it. I just wait to come back to a boil.
And that also keeps, while you're taking some out, it also keeps the water level above your jars healthy.
Exactly.
But I want to go back to what you said, Gil. I hate to correct you, but it has to be a rolling boil.
Oh, it has to be rolling? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Well, all right. Well, I would say keep it at the simmer, and then you go, oh, I'm going to need to order, do it in a couple of minutes, crank it up.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in the house in the summertime. Yeah.
My tongue is blue. I guess I will. I just had, okay, sorry. I went to the gas station.
And when you throw your jars into the water bath, you'll lower down your 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 jars. In my case, I put them in one at a time. The water was at a rolling boil. Well, that's great. Guess what? It's not a rolling boil anymore. Exactly. You don't start your time until it comes back to that heavy rolling boil that you can't blow on it and knock it down. Yeah. And my dog is squeaking a ball because
all right. Angel's Homestead has a request here. Type thing. Help! Just got given 50 pounds of tomatoes 5 minutes ago. What do I do besides making spaghetti sauce?
First of all, just peel, steam them, peel them, pack them in a jar, and get them done because they're going to go bad on you. Get them in there. You can make spaghetti sauce. You can make ketchup. You can make all of those things. You can make anything out of them later.
Yeah.
Get them all processed because they're going to go bad fast, especially if they gave them to you. They're probably already, really ripe. So get them,
please, for the love of God, after you can whole tomatoes or chopped up pieces, don't freak out the next morning when you come downstairs and look at your jars and all the tomato pieces are floating and you have this amber liquid at the bottom.
Yeah,
let it go.
Normal.
That's just the air that was left in there. It's floated them. They will eventually sink back down. I know this is why I'm not on your Facebook page much anymore.
And if you pressure can them, they always look like that. If you water bath them, they don't. And that's what people switch from one method to the other and they freak out because they never saw it before. Well, that's because it's the more when you pressure can them, they do that. And if they've been picked, like if it rained like today and I picked tomatoes tomorrow, they have a lot more water than if they'd been a dry spell before I picked them. And that's
I take them, I peel them, and I have 50 tomato plants, or 49, that are literally within a week of starting to pop, and I'm going to be really busy. I take all my tomatoes, I peel them, throw them in a pot, get them hot, let them cook down a little bit. That releases a lot of the natural air trapped in the pulp. I don't stir them up hard. I just cook them. Then I hot pack them, and I still water bath them.
Here's a pro tip. If you do not think that you're going to be able to get that many done at once, core them, leave the skins on, core them, take the little black spot off the end because somebody's going to find that in the jar and think it's a bug.
Yep.
So check
both ends and freeze them.
And stick them in there whole, freeze them. And when you take them out and to thaw, to can, those skins will slip right off.
Yeah.
So if you have room in your freezer, start doing that and get them in the freezer as well as, I'm sorry, my thumb's up, as well as can them. And then you can use those for anything you need later on down the road too. So don't worry about recipes right now. Just with 50 pounds, get them processed into jars.
And the best thing about pre-freezing them or freezing them when you're going, when you thaw them out, if you run them through a tomato mill, All the skins, all the seeds, everything comes out. You just get pulp and water, and then you can cook it down to sauce. You can cook it down to paste, whatever you want.
Second pro tip before you put that up there. Sorry, Dr. Paula. Second pro tip is save those skins. If you've washed your tomatoes, they don't have any black spots. Save those skins, dehydrate the skins, and make tomato powder.
Yeah, freeze dry. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a freeze dryer, so
I
dehydrate
know.
them. And,
come on, you don't have room in the camper for a freeze dryer? Come on.
Believe me, if I could afford one, I'd build an addition to this fifth wheel. Let me tell you.
Get the extra trailer and hang it off the back. Yep.
Now, Dr. Paula.
Okay. So you need to pressure can them or water bath.
Oh, you can do either with tomatoes.
Yeah.
You can do either. Either one.
Get the
But
get
if
the book.
you're in a hurry, I would say water bath because the turnaround time's a little quicker, isn't it?
Yes.
For water bathing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Dr. Paula, you are a rebel canner. 100% rebel canner. Because you're not supposed to leave the skins on. But I know a lot of people do.
All right.
Rebels, that's a rebel thing, not a USDA approved thing.
We got we got a new comment. All right. New to the channel, started with the last podcast, actually worked on freeze drying a plant in South America. Want to thank Mark for his knowledge. I've been having trouble with candy trial runs. So, Mark, you got a fan.
I guess you saw the one on why you don't have to pre-freeze your Skittles.
Yeah.
That's great.
So,
appreciate it.
Welcome, Moon Berserker. Yeah, one of the things that I know my wife is going to do, she was given 50 pounds of tomatoes. Yeah, we probably the first half immediately would be getting, quarter each end done and tossed into the freezer. Everything else then would immediately start getting chopped up into and being canned as diced tomatoes.
Oh, do you know that that's not approved?
That's not approved. Oh, geez.
Oh my
well,
gosh.
let's see. That means Del Monte, Heinz, Kirkland, all those companies are doing unapproved stuff.
Because it doesn't specifically say diced in the Pearl Clutchers manuals. They came up like last year. They started saying that it was no longer approved to can diced tomatoes. I just want to scream sometimes when I have to deal with people who can't have any common sense.
Yeah. Oh, they must be. Well, now we're not going to get into the baby boomer.
No, don't go there. Don't go there. Yeah. No. I said
it's the ones that are picking on Gen Z, Gen X right now. You know, they're whining.
Why don't we just call them Gen Y? Why? Why? Just why? My dog is barking.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So we know we're going to be going to be doing because we don't use whole stewed tomatoes in practically anything anymore. Because my wife doesn't like the chunks in there. She'd rather have it diced up, and I like it diced. All the kids like it diced. The grandkids like it diced. They don't like the big chunks of stewed tomatoes. Just that a lot of them have a texture thing with it, so they just dice it. So that's what we'll probably be doing. Most of our stuff is going to be diced tomatoes, and anybody says it's wrong can go can jump in the Wayback Machine and go back to 1700 and complain back then.
So my favorite thing to do with all the extra tomatoes, even after I froze them, I have so many of them, I run out of space. I throw them in a pot, get them hot, run them through a fine sieve to get the skins, pieces, whatever's left in there out. Bring it back to a boil, and I just can tomato juice. It's just my whole tomatoes. It's just a juice. If I'm in the mood, I'll pull out 4 quarts of tomato juice, throw it in a pot or the crock pot, and let it go for 3 days or 2 days and make sauce out of it if I'm in the mood. Yeah. But other than that, if you just got to get it out of the fridge, freezer, just make tomato juice. If you want to puree it, strain out all the seeds and the skins and stuff, and just make juice.
Dr. Paula had a great idea too, salsa.
Yep.
I make my own rotel. So
Yeah.
I make my own. I do diced tomatoes, green pepper, onion, or a little jalapeno pepper sometimes in there if I want a hot one. And I do my own rotel.
So
and
get one of those screens.
Buy it from the store.
Dice your onions, dice your peppers, throw them on the grill in one of those screen baskets, roast them, then mix it with your tomatoes, then can your rotel.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah. What life just came in on your side, Tammy?
Hi.
All right. Mark, going to what Mark was saying about canning tomato juice. You can also, if you happen to have other things add to that tomato juice, make your own homemade V8.
I make my own homemade Bloody Mary mix, which is really V27. There's no vodka in it, and I canned it. I got like 20 quarts of Bloody Mary mix on my shelf downstairs. I actually used that with chicken in a crock pot. It's
I put
spicy.
that on my I put that on my steak. I put that on my roast in the crock pot.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
And here's a tip for you. If you get gamey venison, use V8 to cook it. It takes the gaminess out of it. So if you have any gamey meat that has like a real gamey taste, if you cook it in something like V8, then it takes the gamey taste out of it.
I just got to go there with a gamey taste. If all your meat, if all your wildlife, and I'm not going to say all the bad words here, has a gamey taste to it, you probably need to practice at your aim so you're not chasing it for 6 miles as it's getting gamey.
No, okay. It depends on what they eat. And a lot of hunters go up in the UP and it's cedar swamp. And you can tell they taste bad when they've lived their whole life in a cedar swamp, as opposed in the lower peninsula where they're corn fed.
Yeah, we noticed that in California too. The ones that were coming down and raiding into the Central Valley and raiding the fields there, as opposed to the ones farther up that are in the manzanita bushes all the time.
It also you have to clean them properly. Some people get a gamey taste because they don't clean the meat properly.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of factors there. This is not a talk show about that.
No, I'm sorry.
Just kidding. You're good. And I don't want to go there either because I could say things that'll probably get the guild demonetized.
All right. So Dr. Paula has a question. And so basically she tried doing juice years ago. It sealed, then in a few days fermented and spoiled.
Did you open bath or whatever the other technique is?
Open kettle.
Did you? If you open kettled it, that's your problem. Oh, even though it's tomato juice, you heat it up, throw it in a jar, put a lid on it, it's gonna pop.
Yeah, you need to add a little lemon juice to the.
No, and forget the
open kettle to increase the acidity.
I still wouldn't open kettle. Just get a big pot, dump your hot juice in your sterilized jars. Put the rings and lids on it, leave them, finger tight so they can breathe or at least expand and you get the bubbles out of it. Throw the tomatoes in your water bath for, 20 minutes, Tammy. And I got tomato juice that's been on my shelf for 4 years.
25. I think it's 25.
25 minutes. Yeah. For quarts and whatever. And you know what? If you go 30 minutes, you didn't kill it. You're fine. As long as it's a minimum. I wouldn't do it for 4 hours, but
All right. Yeah. She said it was open kettle. So. All right. Glenn's here. How to garden. All right. Before we jump solidly into pressure canning, I have one thing to say about the shelf life of fruits and fruits and jams. 1972. 72. We canned, I don't know how many flats of peaches. We were canning for constantly after school, as school ended that week and into the next week, summer, all day long canning pears. We did pears in quarts, and then my mom got tired of doing quarts. We started doing them in half-gallon jugs. 72. So in the mid 80s, maybe even later, there may have been some around we were eating in the 90s of the pears looked absolutely primo, like they were canned the day before. Froze. Looked like they were canned the day before. Absolutely primo and nice and firm and perfect. That's when the canning lids, when Kerr canning lids were absolutely perfect.
Yes.
All right. Oh, yeah, that's right. He got his fig jam and cherry jam done.
Ooh, that sounds good.
He was talking about it on his videos coming up
that
here.
That sounds really good.
Use pH strip to check if it's under 4 pH, prevent fermentation. All right, pressure canning.
Yes. I should have wore my I Love All American t-shirt I got at the summit.
So the pressure canning, you can do everything in, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. I wasn't sure if there's going to be something that they say is still better in water bath than is pressure.
Well, yeah.
Fruit is way better water bath than pressure canned.
Yeah.
It's a little tricky. It doesn't follow the general rules. You go down on the pressure, and it doesn't take very long at all as far as time, but it still can turn to mush if you are not careful. So you want to make sure that if you all possible, you water bath it because it's better.
Not Moon over Miami just came in.
Hey, Moon.
All right.
Moon.
So, I mean, now looking at the times for doing, my beans and bacon I did, beans and beef.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was heating stuff up, putting it in the jars. That's going to be same for pressure canning or water bath. Then it's the time to bring it up to pressure where the jiggler's doing its thing and it's sitting at the right pressure. Then it's the cooking time, which is was 90 minutes.
Yep, 90 minutes or quarts, 75 pints.
Yeah. And then it was cooling down friggin' slowly forever. I mean, to me, it's, I don't know. It's almost, I didn't time the whole process once I put it in there and got it up, bringing it up to pressure and everything else and getting it down till I could open up the pressure canner. And it's almost, I would say, and I've heard other people say this, maybe you can correct on this, it's almost the same as water bathing it time-wise.
Yeah, but it's safer.
Yeah.
I'll go with that.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a 90-minute pressure canner, quarts, whatever, you're probably looking at a total of like 2.5 to 3.5 hours beginning to end. And that includes getting your product hot or not. You can do cold pressure. You can do cold pack. That takes longer. Putting in the canner, bringing it up to temperature, letting it vent, then putting the gauge on or the weight on, bringing it up to pressure, letting it go for the 90 minutes, then shutting the heat off and waiting another 90 minutes, depending on what's going on, for the pressure to come back down naturally. Take the lid off, put them on the counter. They're still going to sit on the counter for a day. You can't just put them on the shelf. So for me, I'll run multiple at one time unless I'm doing a small batch, but it's definitely worth it because your long-term storage probability of nothing going bad is greatly increased than water bathing, even if it's a 3-hour, which I'm not arguing with the water bath. I just don't have 3 hours to sit around and watch water boil.
Yeah. Now, the reason why
I wonderful steam facial.
Yeah. The reason I brought that up, because I know there are some people out there who are paranoid about pressure canning, but I'm also thinking about the thing is, I I'm thinking old school, like my grandmother and great grandmother used to do it. They'd have several big kettles out on an open fire, big, things, and they'd be doing the water bathing out there. So it was, going on. So they weren't just doing one, and they were doing like, I don't know how many quarts they could fit in that big old, pot, giant monster pot.
If you're doing water bath canning for 3 hours, it's go big or go home. You don't want to water bath 4 quarts for 3 hours. That's like a total waste of time. Not really if it's a specific food that you only have a little bit of, but yeah.
And the reason I'm touching on this is for disaster preparedness, emergency preparedness. The grid's down, the gas line's down, whatever, and you can't use your normal stove.
Yeah.
So, Tammy, I know you said you can pressure can on an outside.
Yes, and I have a lot.
Yeah, it's you have to watch it more.
You have to know how to you have to know your wood, that doesn't sound right. But like different woods burn harder and burn longer and differently. So you need to have a variety of things that you're putting in under, like back when you had a cook stove, you don't necessarily want to burn all of one kind. Some things burn faster and hotter, and some things keeps a nice bed of coals going longer. Yeah. You want a nice, even bed of coals. You're not looking for flames.
Yeah.
And you have to have a bank of coals off to the side that you're shoveling back and forth to keep the pressure even and not too high and not too low. It's not easy. It can be done. It's just not easy. And you have to really, it's a skill. It's an art. Last week when I went camping, I told them because I cook on a grill, I only wanted oak. And the guy's like, why do you only want oak? We have all this wonderful red pine. And I'm like, well, you come back here and I'll cook your food on pine and mine on oak. And we'll each taste a little bit of each other's, except I'm not tasting yours. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, do you like the taste of pine sol? Well, no. Well, you get that into your food with the smoke. And so, you have to know, just as if you were cooking on a wood stove, you have to, or, it's a skill. You have to know those things. Either you do or you don't. If you don't practice that, your food's not going to taste very good when you first start learning.
If you're heating your home, aside from cleaning the chimney out more often, sure, pine is fine. If you're cooking directly over the coals or the flames, you don't want to cook on pine.
No.
I mean, if it's in a wood stove and it's metal top, sure, cook away. It's just heat at that point. There's no flavors being infused. But on a barbecue, no, you really don't want to cook on pine unless you're just desperate. That's all you got. Yeah, just deal with it. But
right.
Yeah. All right. I just added another topic out in the middle of August, canning on wood.
There you go.
So because we're running out of time here, I know that's going to need a whole bunch more.
Maybe I'll take my conservo out there on the campfire and show how I do it by then.
Cool.
So I want to touch on one minor thing on pressure canning, and it's always bugged me. It's okay. You got your pressure canner. It's up to temperature, and it's starting to vent. And the key words that always bothered me was, you have to let it vent for 10 minutes. That's not the problem. To let the oxygen out. You're not letting the oxygen out. The reason you're letting it vent for 10 minutes is because it's maintaining about 212 degrees. You need all the contents of all your jars to become the same temperature. Because if you get it up to pressure or temperature and you just drop the lid on there, or the weight, a lot of your ingredients are still below boiling. You're going to get siphoning everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. So this venting your oxygen out always bothered me. And I'm like, no, that's not really what you're doing it for. It's more to
Yeah.
equalize
You see me rubbing my
everything.
head. It's like, oh my gosh, I can't deal with this.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Serena Noralkis came in. All right.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. It looks like Lee's going live over on Cold War Prepper. His topic tonight, here's kicking off in just like a minute here or two, is Intro to the LDS Preparedness Manual. It's the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And, big preparedness canning people over there. So he's going to be going into the preparedness manual over there tonight. Coming up on, Tammy, you're not going live this week, or you are?
I am child free. I will be live on Thursday at noon.
That's noon Eastern, folks.
Yes.
Okay. All right. For me, tomorrow night on my other channel, Gray Man Prepping, Gray with an A. The topic is bartering, yes or no?
Yeah.
And then Thursday night is the Midnight Ride with Gray Man Prepping. Friday, back here on Camppatton Family Compound, is do-it-yourself solutions for daily problems, and this was suggested by a subscriber. Saturday on Gray Man Prepping is personal safety with when alone, and that was suggested by somebody else. And then next Monday here, high acid canning. So we're going to pick up a little bit about what we talked about tonight next Monday, and that's what's coming up here for the next week. And actually, okay, so hang on. Here is the link. Lee just went live. There is the link for Lee's. There it is. There it goes. And I want to thank everybody who came in and comments in the side chat. We had a lot of comments in the side chat at the beginning there. And okay, that's on that. All right. And thank you, Tammy and Mark, again. And if you're not subscribed to either of these two,
I'm getting there. I'm getting closer. I'm getting closer.
Yeah.
I got music now. I got music.
You got music now.
Yep.
All right. And it's going to help him set up so he can start doing some live streams and other videos as well. All right, folks. As always, grow a garden. I'm not going to go into here. I'm just going to say there's a reason you want to grow your own food.
Yes.
All right, everyone. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow night on Gray Man Prepping and Thursday on Rebel Canners.
Have a good night.
Good night.